Before we begin, if you're listening to this deep into the night, maybe in your own quiet corner, go ahead and tap like or subscribe. Let me know where you are and what hour is keeping you company. It's past midnight now, and rain is tapping steadily against the side window, like soft fingers drumming secrets you almost want to hear. You feel a chill brush along your neck, as if the night's breath has slipped inside the room with you. You're in a small rental house, old but cared for. It smells faintly of wet wood and worn fabric, the scent of rain soaking the earth right outside. You had come here to get away, to write or think quietly without interruptions, but the steady rain outside keeps stirring something just at the edge of sleep and wakefulness. You glance at the clock, 12:17 a.m. The light from your desk lamp pools warmly, but only as far as the worn wooden floor. Beyond that, the house darkens and folds into shadows. A soft pop of the latch catching on the back door draws your attention. Quick, but distinct. You sit still, wondering if you imagined it. Another tap follows, this time lighter, more hesitant. Your eyes catch the rain sliding down the glass of the kitchen window, blurry and distorting the backyard into smeared shadows. You lean forward, tense but measured, listening closely. The house is otherwise silent but for the rain's steady pattering. The tap sounds again, a gentle knock, from the back door just beyond the kitchen. You haven't heard anyone approaching. The gravel path outside is slick, and you recall no footsteps earlier. You quietly rise and move toward the door, the wooden floor cool beneath your feet. You press your palm against the door frame, feeling the damp chill in the air seeping through the cracks, soft and unsettling. A faint whispering trails just outside, a whisper you can't make out, a sound tangled with the hiss of the rain and the flutter of leaves against the eaves. You crouch slowly and look through the peephole, breathing steady. The world outside blurs through the raindrops clinging to the glass, but there's no one there, nothing visible, just the dark folds of the garden and slick shadows of low bushes. Tapping again, this time along the wooden frame, almost like a cautious breath pressed against the door. You reach down to the lock. Your fingers find the cold, solid metal, and you double turn it. Twice locked. You press your ear close to the door. The whispering stops, replaced by a silence so thick it presses on your skin. Then a faint creak, soft but deliberate, from the porch swing hanging just outside, moving without any wind. Heart steady, you step away and fetch your phone. The screen lights your hand as you check the time again, 12:22 a.m. You consider calling for help, but the nearest neighbors are almost a half-mile away, and the rainy night would drown out any calls. The back fence is high, the gate latched tight. You glance out the kitchen window again, watching the shadows lengthen with every heavy drop of rain. The night feels alive, breathing slow but vast, like it's watching you back. You pull the curtains a little tighter and sit back down within the warm glow of your lamp. The whispers haven't returned. The back door stands silent and still against the rain's rhythm. You wonder if you imagined it all. The latch pop, the knock, the cautious breath of sound at your door. Outside, somewhere near the foggy graves in the old town just a few miles beyond this sleepy street, a soft murmur slips through the mist, wavering just beyond hearing. You think about how easy it is to believe in unseen watchers when the night is quiet, and the rain writes its own story on glass. Yet, how much does the dark hide? And how much are you willing to watch without looking back? Before we settle in, take a second. Like the video if you're here late, subscribe if you like this kind of quiet company, and tell me somewhere, what time is it where you listen? Maybe you're wrapped up nearby, or maybe just like me, you're watching the rain trace wet lines on your windows as night softly folds around you. It's just past 11:30 p.m. The rain is light but constant, tapping a slow rhythm against the porch roof. It smells like earth and cold stone, a damp heaviness you notice the moment you open the back door, a crack to let fresh air drift in. Your fingers catch the chill immediately, a quiet shiver threading up your arm. The wood beneath your bare feet is slick with moisture you hadn't expected. Dew clinging to the boards as if the night had already crept just a little bit inside. You close the door behind you with a soft click and step down onto the concrete patio. It's dark, the porch light flickering faintly in the mist, casting thin halos through the settling fog. Off to the side, the garden disappears into shadows blurred by the drizzle, and your breath clouds in the cold. You listen, turning slowly. There's that gentle patter of rain, but also something else. Step, a crisp sound on wet concrete. You froze, heart quickening but not racing, eyes darting through the damp layers of darkness. It's close, just beyond what you can see under the porch beam's dim reach, as if someone's shoes left their mark moments ago. But the path is clean when you glance down. No fresh prints in the slick surface. Step again, lighter this time, maybe from gravel farther off. You reach out and touch the railing. Cold, textured, solid. The rain trickles down in clear strings from the leaf gutters overhead. Another step, slow and careful, yet still measured. It doesn't fit. You strain your ears. The house creaks softly with the rain's weight, boards settling. You imagine footsteps just out of sight, hesitant, maybe waiting for you to notice, or slipping away just as silently. You move closer to the side door, the one you locked twice when you came back. Your fingers find the cold metal latch. You check it, just as firm. You breath in the wet air, so full of night's smell, the pinch of moss and fallen leaves, mingling with the distant tang of damp concrete. It's peaceful here, if you let it be, but the footsteps echo in your mind now, like a whisper you can't quite place. A soft creak from the porch swing swings your attention forward again, swaying gently in the moist night wind. No one near, only the rain coaxing it back and forth. You watch fog curl in slow rings above the grass, and through the trees in the distance, the town sleeps beneath its veil of mist. You take a step back inside, drawn back by the warmth of your small lamp and the reassuring weight of phone in hand. Your pulse slows but doesn't settle entirely. You tell yourself maybe it was just imagination, the rain playing tricks with sound and shadow. Outside, the night doesn't promise safety, only presence. You wonder what it means to be seen, and what it means to see, in an hour when no one walks the quiet streets, but still, something moves. You imagine the fog curling low over distant graves, hiding things just beyond memory or sight, and wonder how many footsteps we never hear, how many whispers slip past us in the dark. How long can silence hold its secrets before it lets them go? Before we settle in, if you're listening now, maybe late at night with the rain tapping softly outside, take a moment, hit like or subscribe if you want, and tell me where you are and what hour the night holds you in. There's a certain weight to these hours, isn't there? A quiet that thickens and stretches around you. It's just past midnight, and you're in a small house nestled deep within the quiet countryside. Rain hisses gently against the side window nearby, a thin, steady beat that quietly fills the silence. You smell wet wood and earth soaking into the frame, that sharp, cool scent catching your nostrils as the breeze slips through the marginal cracks in the door. The air has that damp chill that clings to your skin, brushing along your neck and arms as you move. You're standing near the basement door now. The wood feels cold beneath your fingertips, a little warped with age. Tonight, despite the house's usual stillness, there's something different, something subtle, a slow shifting sensation just beneath the skin of the quiet. You slow your breath, steady your pulse. Rain taps on the roof, a soft drumming that plays against the gentle creaks and sighs of old wood settling around you. The basement door is closed, locked, but behind it, the darkness seems to lean. You press your ear next to the surface and catch it. A whisper, so faint you blink and catch your breath. The sound isn't right. Not the wind or a creak, but a low, hushed breath, almost sighing your name in the spaces between the raindrops. Your hand tightens on the old brass knob, cool and solid. You check the lock, twisting it and hearing the familiar click of deadbolt snapping into place. Safety, yes, but your senses prick with something you can't place. The whisper slips away, swallowed again by the rhythm of rain hitting leaves outside. The slow drip of stagnant water pooling somewhere far beneath. You scan the room by the faint light of your phone screen. Time is 12:07 a.m., glowing soft and blue in the darkness. The walls creep inward, holding shadows close. Your eyes trace the edges of furniture heavy with dust, the layers of forgotten things stacked with quiet patience. There's no one here. Not really, but the weight of that whisper lingers. A creak draws your attention toward the back door, then silence. Outside, the rain falls harder now, thicker against the window panes, each drop punctuating the quiet like a slow exhale. Somewhere beyond the backyard, the fog pools low over distant graves, blankets of mist swallowing all familiar shapes into one. You pull your jacket tighter, heart steady but alert, fingers brushing the wood again. The basement door waits locked, the house breathing slow around you. You wonder, how much of the night truly listens, and how long does it keep its secrets before they start to speak? If you're here right now, maybe the rain is touching your window, or there's a stillness pressing softly outside your door. Hit like or subscribe if you're deep into the night with me. Where are you? And what hour is it there? There's a quiet weight to these moments that pulls you close. Let's lean into it. It's past midnight. Rain taps gently against the side window of this old house. A slow, steady rhythm that's easy to notice once everything else quiets down. The air is thick and cool, carrying the smell of wet wood and something earthy. That mossy scent that slides in after long spells of rain. You feel it on your skin, that soft chill dancing at your neck and wrists, reminding you the night isn't quite like the day. You step away from the window and find yourself in the hallway, a narrow passage where the light is soft and uneven. The wood floor feels cool beneath your bare feet, the faint creak of a loose board somewhere off to the side carrying through the otherwise steady hush. The rain hums outside, its steady voice a backdrop you can almost forget until a sudden sound pulls it back into sharp focus. There, a whisper, barely audible, close to the walls. Not loud enough to catch words, but enough to turn your head quickly. You freeze, eyes scanning the dim corridor where shadow pools thickest beneath the stairwell, the weak glow from the lamp barely settling into the corners. Your fingers brush the old brass light switch on the wall, clicking it gently. Warm amber light floods the hallway in slow waves, chasing back the dark patches and revealing the familiar shapes. A framed photo hanging askew, a pair of shoes neatly tucked beneath the coat rack, a narrow staircase that leads up and out. Still the whisper lingers, like breath just yet to be spoken. You move cautiously toward the closed door at the end of the hall, the basement door, remembering the double locks you turned before. The cool metal of the deadbolt presses into your palm as you verify the lock again, and the faint squeak of settling house joins the chorus outside. The whispering fades into silence. Your heartbeat shifts into a quiet rhythm, steady but alert. The rain softens, less insistence now, more of a hush pressed against the glass. Outside the backyard, shadows pool unevenly beyond the porch light, the dark folding into itself. Beyond the high fence, you imagine the fog coiling over graves in the nearby cemetery, the mist hiding things just out of sight. You breathe slowly, feeling the weight of the night settle into your bones. You wonder what watches when you don't. What waits just beyond the light and locked doors, unheard but not absent. How many secrets can silence hold before it breaks open and reaches for something more? Before we begin, if you're listening to this late, maybe with the rain tapping gently on your window, take a moment, tap like or subscribe if you want, and think for a second. Where are you right now? What hour is keeping you company? There's something about these quiet nights that pulls you closer, like the air itself breathes in rhythm with you. It's just past midnight. You've checked into a small Airbnb on the outskirts of a rural town, a place tucked away from the hum of highways and the glow of city lights. The rain falls steady and soft, drumming a slow rhythm against the side window beside the old wooden porch. The scent of damp wood and wet earth drifts in through the slightly cracked window, cool and faint but unmistakable. Even inside, the chill clings to your skin, a quiet reminder that the night has its own shape here. You stand barefoot on the creaky floorboards, the faint sound of water dripping somewhere in the corner, mixing with the rain's steady hush. The house is small but solid, walls measuring the slow passage of hours with their gentle groans and sighs. You notice the welcome mat outside, sodden and worn, and the faded footprints stamped unevenly by the passing days. The door lock clicks firmly as you double-check, the deadbolt sealed tight, the latch secure, peace of mind stamped in simple metal. Your phone glows softly beside you. You glance at the time, 12:17 a.m. No messages, no calls, just the quiet patter of rain and the soft whisper of wind brushing dead leaves against the porch steps. You move toward the back door, hands sliding along the cool surface, feeling the faint roughness of early morning dew settling on the wood. The latch is there too, reminding you the house holds itself closed, even as the world outside folds dark and damp. You pause, catching a faint sound from the edge of hearing, a whisper maybe, a breath of noise carried just beyond the reach of understanding. The hairs on your arms rise, the quiet creeping in like a slow shadow. You listen harder. Nothing but the rain and the shifting trees. Moving toward the window, you watch the backyard dissolve into fog, the silhouettes of distant graves dipping in and out of the mist like ancient watchers cloaked in white. The light from your phone catches the dampness pooling on leaves, makes the low stone markers glisten faintly. You think about how many stories those stones hold, how many whispers the fog has gathered and kept. Your breath is steady now, calm but alert. The house is still and safe, yet the whole night feels alive and watching, folding quiet tension into the silence. You wonder how long the quiet can stretch before it breaks. The moment when presence becomes decision, and waiting becomes something else. What does it mean to be alone when the shadows wait patiently, and the rain remembers every footstep you didn't hear? Before we settle into this moment, if you're listening late, maybe with rain tapping softly outside, take a breath, tap like or subscribe if you want, and wonder, where are you? And what hour is it where you hear this? Nights like this pull you deeper, inviting quiet and awareness in the same breath. It's a little past 1 a.m., and the rain falls steady but gentle, weaving its soft rhythm against the side window near the bedroom. The smell of wet earth and cedar drifts in faintly, carried by a cool breeze slipping through a barely cracked sash. Your skin feels the chill lightly, a whisper against your neck and hands, grounding you in the quiet house. You're standing now near the closet door, a simple wooden panel, painted white but chipped slightly from time. It's the kind of closet that holds more shadows than clothes, the corners dark and still. You notice a faint scent here, something older, dry linen mixed with the hush of forgotten nights. The faint scent curls around the damp air like a quiet secret. A soft sound catches your attention. A breath, almost. Bedroom stillness, broken by a slight, slow sigh that seems to seep from the closet itself. You pause, hand hovering just inches from the door frame. The sigh happens again, barely louder than the steady rain outside, delicate and deliberate. You listen closer, heart steady, senses sharpened but mind cautious. You reach gently for the light switch. The warm glow spreads slowly, pushing shadows from corners and illuminating the narrow hall beyond. The closet door stands still, silent but for that soft exhale that seems woven into the air itself. You consider opening it, fingers tracing the door's worn edge, but decide to wait, breathing in slow rhythm with the rain's tapping. The house hums softly. In the distance, the steady drip of water from the gutters blends with the wind's low sigh as it bends tree branches outside. Somewhere beyond the fence, the fog rolls low over quiet graves, muffling the world into a muted stillness. You think about all the quiet places we share with things unseen, the corners where air breathes differently, where silence isn't empty but full of waiting. The soft sigh from the closet could be anything: imagination, the house settling, or something more patient, more watchful. Turning away, you wonder how often moments like this slip past unnoticed. How many gentle whispers brush past us in the dark, asking only to be heard. How long will you stand listening before the quiet asks you its question? If you're listening this late, maybe with rain tracing soft rivers down your window pane, take a moment to tap like or subscribe if you like this kind of quiet company. Tell me, where are you? What hour holds you right now? There's something about night-ready rain that draws us in, makes the world feel tighter, more alive. It's early morning, just after midnight, deep in the countryside, where streetlights thin away to nothing, and the world folds softly under the sky. The rain has come on steady, not a downpour, but the kind of wet that seeps into everything, soaking earth and wood and stone. You stand near the back door of a modest house, the air damp and sharp with the smell of fresh, wet soil and something faintly green. Ferns or moss pressed close against shaded garden beds. You're drawn outside, without quite deciding why. The door swings open quietly, the latch's soft click swallowed quickly by rain. Your boots hit wet wood first, then the cool, soggy earth of the garden path. The dirt gives slightly beneath your steps, soft and pliant from hours of drizzle. A faint scent of earth and rain wraps around you. Deep, dark, alive. Your eyes catch it. Footprints, not fresh in the usual sense. More like impressions softened by rain, but still distinct, barely more than the faintest dips and smudges in the garden soil, pressed incongruously near the neat rows of hostas and low bushes. No clear path leads to them, no obvious place from which those marks might have come. They stop just short of the back porch steps, lonely in the damp earth as if someone paused, and then simply vanished. Your breath slows, belly tightening in that familiar way. A mix of curiosity and caution. You scan the yard, noting the puddled stones and wet leaves clinging to branches. The smell of rain mixing with wet wood hits again, crisply alive as you lean down to feel the moist soil with your fingertips, cool and soft, between your fingers. A sudden creak from the porch, the swing moving gently in the breeze. No wind blows really, just the shifting weight of night air and rain. The faintest whisper seems to brush the leaves by the fence, a sound swallowed almost immediately by the steady drip of water from gutters. Your phone's screen glows softly in the dark as you check the time. 12:05 a.m. You're alone in a small pocket of quiet, far from neighbors and streetlights. The only thing that breaks the night is the rain and the soft scratch of what feels like distant voices carried faintly on the wind, whispers almost too soft to catch. You step inside slowly, the door closing with a muted click behind you. The warmth of the kitchen wraps around you, a sharp contrast to the wet coolness on your skin. The locked back door feels heavier tonight, more deliberate. You glance again at the garden through the window. The soil is dark, The footprints pressed deep enough to remind you they were not imagined. You wonder, quietly, how many footsteps pass unnoticed just beyond our vision. How many moments slip away like shadows, leaving only whispers in their wake. How long can silence carry the weight of presence before it calls us to look? Before we begin, if you're listening to this quiet hour, maybe with rain tapping gently nearby, take a moment, tap like, subscribe if you want, and think, where are you and what time holds you now? There's something about rain at night that gathers the small details close, makes the world feel sharp and intimate. It's just after midnight. The house is quiet, except for rain slipping steadily against the roof and the soft drip from the gutters, a distant, steady percussion layering the silence. You're halfway up the staircase, pausing instinctively, because there, at the top landing, something feels off. The air shifts cooler, heavier, scented faintly with damp wood and earth, even though you're inside. You glance toward the open window at the end of the hall, the one that leads to the small guest bedroom. The curtain moves gently in the breeze, billowing just enough to catch your eye like a pale, slow breath. The window itself is cracked open wide, a dark rectangle against the wet glass, rainwater tracing slow paths down the pane beside it. The scent of rain slips in, mingled with the heavier smell of garden soil and green leaves outside. Somewhere beyond, the branches of trees scrape against the side of the house, muted by the wet air. You feel the chill brush through your hair, skin prickling with the cool breath moving through the open space. A light creak from the floorboard behind you pulls you straight, the house's old bones reminding you how alive it is in this storm. You turn back toward the window, studying the shapes just beyond, the garden wrapped in shadow and mist, with dark earth softened by steady rain. You imagine the graveyard down the road, where fog curls thick over stones worn by time, quiet watchers holding their silent vigil beneath the sky. The faint rustle of a branch swaying catches your ear again. You catch a glimpse, just barely, of a shadow shifting among the leaves. No footsteps, no voices, nothing but the whisper of wind and rain tangled through the night. You pull the window shut gently, the latch clicking firm and sure. The warmth of the house folds back around you like a soft coat, but the chill still lingers in your chest, in the quickening beat of your pulse. The steady tapping on the roof resumes, steady and unyielding. You wonder, quietly, how many times we open the windows of our lives to the night, and what it is we invite in unknowingly. How long before the quiet outside becomes something closer? Something waiting for you to see it clearly. Before we get started, if you're listening this late, maybe with rain sliding down your windows, take a moment, tap, like if this quiet company suits you, subscribe if you want to linger here a little longer. Where are you? And what hour is it where the night holds you now? There's something about rain after midnight that wraps itself around everything, thick and slow. It's approaching 12:30 a.m. and you find yourself waiting at a small, lonely bus stop on the side of a rural road. The shelter is modest, glass panels foggy with rain, the steel frame slick and cold beneath your fingertips as you grip the bench. Around you, the air is thick and heavy with moisture and the earth's deep scent, the faint, rich smell of wet grass and dark soil pulled up by the steady drizzle. The rain falls softly but persistently, each drop catching faint light from the single flickering street lamp nearby, a wavering glow that pools unevenly over the cracked concrete. You can feel the beads of water gathering at your neck, sliding slowly down your jacket collar, cool and steady, settling into your skin. In the quiet, your ears start to tune in. The steady patter of rain, the occasional plip of water dripping from the shelter's eaves. Somewhere far off, the low hum of a distant highway hums faintly beneath it all. The night breathes slow and deep around you, alive, patient, waiting. You glance down the empty road. No headlights yet, No sign of the bus coming. The road stretches into a black ribbon punctured only by occasional puddles, reflecting dim starlight. The wind stirs suddenly, ruffling the leaves of a nearby tree, sending cold shivers up your spine. In the silence between the raindrops, you think you catch the faintest whisper, a sound just beyond hearing, like a voice carried lightly through the night air, too soft to tell what it wants. You shift your weight, the wet bench creaking beneath you. The shelter's metal frame hums softly in the cold. You check your phone, 12:33 a.m. The screen flickers briefly, bright and sharp in your palm. There's no signal here, no texts or missed calls, only quiet and the waiting. Footsteps catch your attention, soft, muffled, wet on the cracked pavement behind you. You turn slowly, eyes searching the darkened roadside. Nothing but the rain-slick road stretching into the mist. You blink, and the sound fades, folded back into the patter of water. The bus stop feels smaller somehow, the shelter less solid than moments before. The weight of being watched, or of simply waiting, settles heavy on your chest. Outside the pool of light, fog slips low, softening trees and distant hills. Somewhere beyond lies the curve of a graveyard, cloaked and silent, beneath a veil of mist. You breathe deeply, feeling the cold seep in around your joints. Your mind pulls tight, balancing between rest and alertness. You wonder, as you wait beneath flickering light and steady rain, how often do we stand in places that feel empty, only to realize the silence is filled? How long before waiting itself becomes the presence we can no longer ignore? Before we begin, if you're here late and the rain is drumming softly on your window pane, maybe tap like or subscribe if you want to keep this company. Where are you right now? What hour is it holding you close? The night has its own rhythm, one measured by quiet sounds and textures beneath the hum of rain. It's just past 12:40 a.m., and you're standing under the flickering shelter of that lonely bus stop on a deserted country road. The shelter's glass panels are streaked and fogged with rain, the steel frame cold against your fingertips. Around you, the air is thick, carrying the scent of wet soil and damp leaves, rooted deep in the velvet dark. Your breath puffs out in soft clouds, visible in the chill. The steady rain falls, soft, unrelenting. Drops plink and drip from the rusted gutters, tapping a delicate, irregular rhythm. You shift softly, your shoes pressing into the cracked concrete that's slick and glistening beneath the street lamp's wavering glow. That light casts shaky patterns on puddles, each one distorted by ripples that time out with the rain's fall. You glance down the empty road, searching for any sign of the bus, the faintest gleam of headlights, or the vibration of tires on the wet asphalt. Nothing. Just the hush of rain and the occasional rustle of branches stirred by a gentle breeze. The wind slips quietly through the shelter, slipping past your jacket collar, cold and damp. It carries with it something subtle, a hint of voice, a whisper almost too faint to catch, like a question meant only for listening ears. Then, just as you steady yourself to wait longer, a change, a soft tapping at the bus's heavy steel door, muffled yet distinct. Tap, tap, tap. Slow and cautious, almost hesitant. You tilt your head, listening. Another pause, then again. Quiet, measured, deliberate, like fingernails tracing a message you're not meant to understand. Your heart tugs tighter under your ribs. You peer around the glass, catching the gleam of rain-mottled windows and the shadow of the bus's shape through the mist. It sits silent now, waiting or watching. No driver, no passengers visible, only that soft tapping echoing faintly through the drizzle. You check your watch or phone, 12:43 a.m. The screen's glow illuminates your face briefly, a small island of light amid dark surroundings. You consider calling for help or speaking to someone inside the shelter, but there's nothing but silence answered back. The rain presses steady outside, a constant curtain smoothing away details, blurring edges. The tapping stops. The fog creeps closer, curling like slow breath over the cracked pavement and pooling puddles. You blink and perhaps imagine you see a movement just beyond the glow, a quiet folding of shadow into deeper dark. The bus sits waiting still, as if it holds its own breath, and the night leans in a little closer. How long can silence carry a presence before it becomes something known? How patient is the waiting when the quiet itself feels alive? If you're here now, late into the quiet night, maybe rain tracing soft paths down your window, settle in with me. Tap like or subscribe if this keeps you company, and tell me, where are you, and what hour holds you in its arms as you listen? There's a particular weight to these dark hours, a stillness that pulls the smallest details alive. It's past midnight, and the rain taps steadily against the glass at your side window. The air smells thick with wet wood and damp earth, a chill that creeps in slowly beneath your skin. You're sitting alone in a small living room, a single lamp casting warm circles of light on an old wooden floor. The house is humble, worn in all the right places. You can feel the quiet comfort settling around you, but beneath it, something else flickers. Near the fireplace, an empty chair waits, familiar yet strange in the soft glow. Its fabric worn thin, edges frayed, still inviting in its silent stillness. You watch the rain slide like liquid glass outside, pooling in gutters and dripping from the eaves, the rhythm steady but varied. A breath of wind pushes gently at the cracked open window nearby, slipping inside with a faint scent of pine and cold stone. Your attention lingers on the chair, a space usually meant for company, this time untouched. You think of the chair's absence, its waiting, and the shiver touches your skin. The house exhales in small creaks, floorboards settling, pipes murmuring somewhere deep behind the walls, each sound folding into the rain's steady melody. You rise and cross the darkened room, fingers brushing a smooth wooden tabletop dampened by moisture from your coat sleeves. The clock hangs heavy on the wall, the hands pointing close to 12:15 a.m., a time when the world often feels suspended between presence and absence. You check your phone. The screen glows quietly in your palm. No messages, no calls. A faint knock reaches your ears, soft, deliberate, layered over the rain's patter. It comes from the back door, distant and cautious. Your breath catches, heart measured but alert. You move slowly toward the door, feet cool on the floor, fingers sliding along the cold brass of the deadbolt. The lock clicks twice, firm and sure. You peer through the peephole, but only rain-smeared darkness greets you. The porch glistens under the lamplight, droplets pooling in uneven puddles, slipping slowly down wooden rails. No footprints in the mud, no sign of company, yet the knock and the silence linger like a held breath. You close the door gently and turn back to the chair, its empty space suddenly feeling heavier, as if it expects you to fill it. The rain falls steady now, louder, closer, the night pressing softly against the frame of the house. You sit, letting the quiet settle over you once more, and wonder, how often do we sit with absence before it becomes something more? How long can silence watch before it finally speaks? If you're here now, maybe the rain is tracing soft rivulets on your window, absorbing the night's hush, settling in the spaces between thought and breath. Take a moment and lean into the quiet. Where are you? And what hour keeps your senses sharp? There's a strange comfort in this kind of stillness, but also a pull, a slow unraveling. It's just past midnight. Outside, rain drums a steady rhythm against the aged siding of the house where you now stand. The air is thick and cool, mixed with the scent of soaked wood and damp earth, laced faintly with the green sharpness of garden foliage. You feel it press lightly against your skin, a breath of night's dampness that slips in through tiny cracks and catches at your neck. You move toward the living room window, where thin curtains hang heavy but ever so slightly stirred, fluttering as if teased by a ghost's breath. It's odd. You tense, certain there's no breeze. The glass itself is dotted with rain, countless drops chasing one another in spiral trails caught in pale lamplight. The soft, uneven tap of rain mingles with the quiet rustle of those curtains moving, ever so gently, though the air beyond is still. You lean closer, fingertips grazing the cold window pane, sensing the wetness clinging to the outside frame. The garden beyond blurs under the rain's curtain, the dark silhouettes of shrubs and wildflowers bending beneath the moisture, patches of sodden earth shining faintly where raindrops catch the light. Fog coils low along the distant yard, cloaking the old fence and all it guards. The house breathes around you. The slow creak of settling wood, the distant drip of water pooling on stone. The curtains flicker again, a soft sigh of fabric slipping loose. You reach out to steady them, but they settle back as if reluctant to be held. The eerie stillness pulls tight in your chest. Are the curtains just restless from the night? Or could something unseen be threading those silken waves? Your phone's light flickers softly beside you. 12:21 a.m. A small island of modern warmth amid the damp shadows. You glance away from the window and feel the weight of the night breathe deeper, the hush folding in lengthening fingers. The quiet fills the spaces where sound used to be, asking without words. You think about how often silence watches us back, the way it waits patiently in small movements. A curtain fluttering without wind, a shadow where none should fall. How long before the night that listens asks us to listen too? And what might we hear then, leaving the safe edges of what we know? Before we dive deeper, hit that like button if you're here with me tonight, and maybe subscribe for these quiet journeys. Then tell me, where are you listening, and what time is it where you are? Is there rain tapping on your own windows or some other night sound weaving around your space? It's a little past 1 a.m., and rain falls gently against the side window beside you, soft, persistent. The droplets slide in thin rivulets down the glass, tracing paths that glimmer faintly in the dim kitchen light. That cool, moist smell of fresh rain mixes with the faint earthiness of potted plants on the sill. You press your palm against the window frame. The cold makes the hairs on your arms stand up, a slow shiver following. You catch the low hum of the refrigerator from somewhere behind you, steady, familiar. The house feels quiet, but it's the kind of quiet that feels alive, as if it's just holding its breath. Outside, the drip of rain gathers and falls in small splashes from the eaves, the soft plink of water catching your attention again and again, like distant, slow tapping fingers inviting you outward. Your eyes follow the window pane, and just beyond it, the side yard blurs into soft shadows. The porch light out front cuts a small circle of yellow into the dark, but along the side only hazy shapes curl in the falling mist. The garden bushes, slick green leaves heavy with rain, drip steadily onto the flagstones. A chill moves through the air, slipping through the little cracks around the window frame, cool and deliberate. Then, just barely past the steady rain, you hear it, a faint scraping sound on the concrete path. At first, you wonder if it's a branch brushing the ground, but it's more timed, crisp, as if someone is shifting their feet nearby. You hold your breath, the sound stopping abruptly, swallowed by the rain again. The silence that follows feels thick, so you slide down a little to peer through the peephole on the side door, just a few steps away. Through the small glass, light is dull and smeared by raindrops, but you imagine the shape of something moving just out of focus, caught like a shadow between the porch and the lawn beyond. You press your forehead gently to the door, cool wood against your skin, and check the latch again. Locked, deadbolt turned tight. The house feels warmer by contrast, the faint glow of your lamp pooling around your feet now, safe and steady. You pull back, fingers brushing wet spots along the window frame as your mind catches up, pulling strings of sound and silence into shapes. Whispers in the rain, footsteps just faded, a night watching quietly from the edges where light meets shadow. A soft creak comes from the old porch swing, swinging ever so slightly in the cool air. No wind to move it, only the slow insistence of rain. You reach for your phone, finger hesitant on the screen, the clock flashing 1:08 a.m., and you think about how the night folds over time, how minutes stretch silent but heavy, like waiting for something that might never come. The rain taps steadily still, a drumbeat on the glass, and you wonder, when everything's locked down tight, who or what waits outside the quiet, patient dark? Is the stillness outside ever truly empty? And how long might you listen before the night answers back? Before we begin, take a breath and lean in. The kind of breath drawn slow and steady beneath night's wet embrace. If you're listening this late, maybe the rain is tapping just outside your window too. If you want, tap like or subscribe, and maybe tell me where you are and what hour holds you close right now. There's a certain stillness that only the rain and the dark can birth. It's well past midnight. You're alone upstairs in a house that creaks and sighs under the weight of a growing storm outside. The rain falls steady, first as a soft patter, then gathering strength to drum its steady rhythm against the skylight high above. You tilt your head back, letting small drops race down the glass in thin rivulets, blurring the dark sky beyond. The scent of wet wood drifts down from the old rafters above, mingling with the fresh electric tang of rain on dry stone and damp soil pressed close outside. The air wraps around your skin cool and close, carrying a faint chill that slips beneath your shirt collar and crawls along your arms. The house settles beneath the pelting sound as if holding its breath between each strike of water. You reach out to touch the cold frame of the skylight. The glass is slick, smooth beneath your fingertips, tracing the path of the droplets. The sound fills the room now, a symphony of rain tapping, dripping, slapping rhythmically against the pane, weaving with the occasional low groan of timber settling in the weight of night. Moments of silence stretch between the beats, thick with patience. Your eyes catch a flicker, shadow pooled just beyond the corner of your vision, water collecting at the base of an old wooden beam, pooling like slow, dark ink. You shift, feeling the slight creak beneath your feet as the house whispers stories. Stories old as the woods outside, as the fog rolling low over the distant graves you remember from your drive here. There's a subtle movement, gentle, almost inaudible, like a soft breath, a sigh slipped through the rain's patter. You breathe in slowly, steadying your heartbeat, tuning into the cadence between drip and silence. The phone beside you glows dimly. You glance 1:42 a.m. time, folding softly over itself. Outside the attic window, the night presses close and wide all at once, wrapped in the sound of rain and the slow pulse of absence. You wonder, quietly, how much of the night's vast silence is waiting. Waiting for what? Waiting for whom? When the rain stops, will the stillness break? Or will the shadows left behind trace new footsteps, unheard and unseen? Before you settle in, if you're here late with rain whispering outside your window, take a moment. Tap like or subscribe if this quiet company suits you. Where are you? And what hour is it where you listen? Nights like this fold around us, pulling small sounds sharp and near. It's past midnight. Rain taps steadily against the side window, soft and cool, mingling with the subtle scent of wet wood and the faint earthiness drifting in from the dark outside. You stand near the back door of a small house, the wood under your hand smooth but chilled. The lock clicks as you double-check the deadbolt, the metal cold and reassuring against your palm. Outside, the garden stands soaked, shadows pooling beneath heavy leaves. the faint gleam of droplets catching distant streetlight. You listen then. Beyond the rain's steady tapping, something else threads through the night, a whisper just at the edge of hearing, sliding past the wind. You turn slowly toward the garden, eyes straining in the low light. The dark folds of the yard seem deeper tonight, as if holding breath between wet blades of grass and tangled branches. The whisper grows, subtle and persistent, like names being called low and soft, voices folding into each other with a careful hush. You search the edges of the yard, the barren fence line, the faint curve of a forgotten path rising toward the old graveyard just beyond. Fog clings low over lichen-covered stones, silent sentinels draped in white shadows. There's no shape visible, only the sound, a thread of names, half memorized, slipping like smoke through the cold air. Your breath catches and slows, heart steady but alert. You glance back at the door, locked, still, and then the window beside it. The curtains flutter slightly, though the night air is still, the house holding its breath in the rain's rhythm. You touch the window pane, cold and slick with moisture, and the whisper seems to press closer, wrapped in the wet darkness. A soft creak draws your eyes to the porch swing, moving gently as if pushed by an unseen hand. The rain's song fades and swells, spiderwebbing silence and sound until the whispered names become glimmers, almost forgotten words folding again into the night. You step back inside, door clicking shut behind you with a muted finality. The warmth wraps around you, steady and quiet, but the faint echo of those voices lingers just beyond the glass, tangled with the night's slow breath. You wonder, how often does the dark call names we don't recognize? And how long do we listen before we must answer? Before we begin, take a breath and settle in where you are. Maybe the rain is falling softly outside your window, the kind that pulses gently against glass in a rhythm both steady and mysterious. If you're here late, tap like or subscribe if this night sounds like the one keeping you awake. Where are you tonight? What time holds the world still for you now? It's just past midnight. The rain presses all sound together outside, a quiet but steady blanket over the world. You stand inside a small house in the countryside, tucked near the edge of trees and fields that dissolve into mist and shadow. The air inside is cool, but the warmth of modern light pools around you softly. You notice the faint scent of wet wood mixing with the heavier, earthier smell drifting in from outside. Something about it pulls your senses sharper. You make your way toward the back door. The house floor cool beneath your bare feet, the faint creak of old wood joining the orchestra of rain. You pause near the window beside the door and look out. The garden is slick and dark, wet leaves hanging heavy, tipped with droplets. You feel the quiet tension settle over the world there, the way shadows press close to the fence. Then you see it, a figure standing just beyond the backyard fence, framed between the damp branches in the dark sky. The stranger is still, blending almost perfectly into the wet darkness, but your eyes catch the faint reflection of something sharp, the glint of a flashlight or maybe a phone screen, held low and pulsing gently. Your pulse catches as you watch. This wasn't expected. The backyard fence is weathered but closed tight, locked earlier, double-checked. You move quietly to the door, testing the locks once again. Solid and secure, the deadbolt snapping with a satisfying certainty beneath your fingers. The rain falls steady and soft, a sound to hold on to as the moments stretch. You step back a few feet and watch the shadowy form. It doesn't move, just waits. A presence folded quietly into the dark and the storm. The cold air creeps in faintly through the cracks near the doorframe, brushing your skin and carrying the sharp traces of wet leaves and distant earth. The street beyond is silent. No cars pass, no footsteps echo. The only sound is the rain, tapping, drumming, falling, and the strange stillness of being watched from just beyond reach. You raise your phone, fingers steady, but heart alert, and check the time, 12:04 a.m. You consider calling for help, but the fog thickens over the field beyond the fence, swallowing shapes whole. The stranger remains, a quiet silhouette standing against the wet night, patient, waiting. You wonder how often we share moments like this, where presence floats just beyond our gaze, where the unseen watches us as much as we watch it. How long can you hold still, knowing something waits outside the safe glow? And when does watching become something different, something that asks for more than just being seen? Before you settle in, if you're listening late with the rain pressing soft against your window, take a breath and lean into the quiet. Tap like or subscribe if this moment calls to you, and tell me, where are you right now? What hour holds you, wrapped in the dark's embrace? Tonight, every sound comes sharper, every shadow feels nearer. It's past midnight. The rain taps its steady rhythm against the side window beside you, a soft, insistent presence that blurs the world beyond in streaks of silver. The air smells rich and damp, a mix of wet wood, overturned earth, and the faint trace of moss growing unseen in shadowed corners. You can feel the chill slip in through the gaps near the frame, cooler now against your skin, threading the slow crawl of quiet along your spine. You slip on your shoes and move toward the back door, your footsteps muted on the worn floorboards. Outside, the porch light casts a muted glow, half swallowed by pools of rainwater collecting in cracks and crevices. The garden slumps under the weight of falling drops, leaves heavy, branches bowed. The earth is soft beneath your feet, slick and dark, and the smell of wet soil rises freshly with each step. Your eyes find the ground. There, footprints appear. Not crisp or new, but recent enough. Muddy impressions that press deep into the softened earth, tracing a path toward the fence that separates the yard from the woods beyond. You follow the trail slowly, feeling the cold seep through the soles of your shoes, attuning to the muffled patter of rain against leaves and stones. The footprints stop abruptly just short of the fence line, fading into the sodden earth where the soil thickens and the shadow of trees deepens. No clear exit, no broken fences or disturbed branches, only the lingering trace of passage, vanishing as if swallowed by the night itself. Stillness rises heavy around you, the air dense and expectant. Somewhere far off, thunder grumbles low and soft, a slow rolling warning beneath the quieter breaths of rain. You glance back toward the house, windows glowing dimly, a pocket of warmth enclosed behind the sheltering walls. The locked back door seals that safety firmly, a barrier between you and the dark beyond. Your phone glows softly, the screen lighting your hand in blue, 12:11 a.m. You consider calling someone, any reassurance, but the signal feels thin and distant here. The rain gathers again, steady and insistent, drawing your gaze outward. The garden waits, soaked and silent, guarding its secrets in each muddy footprint left behind. You wonder how many footsteps disappear into the earth, unseen but felt. How many stories slip quietly away with the rain between the shadows? How long before the silence that holds them begins to speak? Before we begin tonight's story, if you're hunkered down with the rain tapping your window, maybe tap like to keep this company. Subscribe if you want to linger longer, and tell me, where are you, and what hour folds quietly around you now? Nights like these draw us close in ways that daylight never quite can. It's past midnight, and the rain has slowed to a steady, soft drumming against the roof. The kind of rain that feels dampened by the thick dark but alive enough to fill every crevice with sound. You're in a small home at the edge of a quiet town, where streetlights fade early and the distant hum of cars is a rare thing. Flickering softly, the porch light throws bands of orange-yellow across the soaked steps, the air sharp with the smell of wet cedar and earth. You stand near the side door that leads to the garage, fingers brushing the cool, splintered wood. The scent of rain and wet leaves swirls in the narrow space between the porch and backyard. A slow breeze teases at your hair, brushing wet strands against your forehead and neck. The damp air slips through cracks in the doorframe, chilling your skin beneath the thin jacket you pulled on over your pajamas. Suddenly, from the garage, comes a creak. The sound is low and drawn out, as if a heavy hinge is sighing beneath invisible weight. You freeze, breath steady but sharp. It is not the wind. It is the slow, deliberate groan of something moving inside. Your ears keen. Every other sound, the rain's relentless tapping, the occasional drip from eaves, the flutter of loose leaves tossed by the breeze, all fade into a quiet hush. You tighten your grip on the brass doorknob, shining your phone's light toward the garage door, the beam cutting a narrow path through the shadows. The floorboards creak again beneath some small movement, deliberate and paced. You lightly test the locks on the door, bolt secure, deadbolt turned, and push gently against the wood. It doesn't budge. Your fingers trace the outline of the doorframe, cold and damp. Behind you, inside the house, the steady hum of the refrigerator and the soft flicker of the television flicker in the distance. Familiar, but oddly distant now. You glance at your phone, 1:53 a.m., time sliding slow under rain's ceaseless rhythm. That creaking sound comes again, softer this time, almost hesitant, lost quickly in a fresh patter of raindrops hitting metal and leaves. The garage door remains shut tight, the lock firm as always. You swivel your gaze around the wet yard, noticing muddied footprints near the flower beds, faint, half-washed tracks leading away toward the shadows beneath the fence. Your heart flutters a quiet warning, but your mind holds steady. The rain's melody washes over the tension, every droplet a slow tick marking the passage of a night that holds its secrets just out of reach. You turn back inside, the cozy weight of warmth embracing you as you close the door firmly behind you. You wonder quietly, how much of a night's silence is really silence? How patient is the dark when it waits just beyond the places we lock and watch? And how long do we stand guarding the edge before the quiet asks for something more? Before we settle into this, if you're listening with rain threading soft lines down your window pane, take a breath. Maybe tap like or subscribe if this whispering night calls you too. Where are you now? What hour carries you gently beneath its dark wings? There's a weight to this kind of quiet that pulls your senses tighter. It's well past midnight. The rain is falling steady, soft but persistent, a constant murmur pressing against the roof and slipping in through cracks around the windows. You find yourself standing at the threshold of the workshop attached to the back of the house, an old wooden structure, weathered and streaked with moisture. The scent of damp pine mingles with sawdust and oil, thick and rich, slipping in the cool night air. The porch light above flickers dimly, every pulse a reminder of the storm's reach. The door stands half closed, rusty hinges creaking as a faint breeze nudges it wider. Your fingers brush the cold metal of the latch as you step inside, the wooden floorboards groaning beneath your careful weight. It smells old here, of forgotten tools resting in shadow, wrapped in fine layers of dust and lingering humidity. Outside, the rain drums on the tin roof in uneven beats, soft raps punctuating quiet spaces, playing a slow rhythm that threads through the air. Inside the workshop, shadows coil thick and still among heavy benches and scattered nails. Your eyes take in the empty clamps, the dull shapes of handsaws hung like silent sentinels along the wall, and the faded outlines of worn work gloves forgotten on the table. The quiet feels heavy, thick with waiting. Then a sudden scrape, subtle but unmistakable, comes from the far corner. You freeze, listening close, as the sound weaves through the rain's unbroken song. A loose board shifting, or something more deliberate. The silence stretches taut between drips on metal and this new, distant noise. You step forward, fingertips grazing the cold surface of a bench as you draw your phone from your pocket to light the space. The bluish glow illuminates splintered wood and scattered screws, but reveals no source for the sound. The scrape fades, swallowed once more by the falling rain and settling dust. Your eyes return to the half-open door and the slick ground just outside, where puddles catch stray flashes of porch light. Somewhere beyond the edge of the garden, the fog curls low over ancient graves, swallowing shapes whole beneath its pale cloak. The night is patient here, listening and waiting in equal measure. You wonder how many unseen moments gather in places like this. How many breathless silences hold stories just beneath the surface? How much of the dark is simply waiting to be noticed? And how long before it decides to speak? If you're listening now, maybe you're wrapped in night and rain like I am, the scent of wet earth and wood pressing softly around you. Before you lean in, if this quiet moment suits you, tap like or subscribe. I'm curious, where are you and what hour holds you still? There's a particular hush that comes with rain at midnight, a kind of breath you can feel in your bones. You find yourself inside a small house perched alone on a hill, the kind of place where the road thins away behind you and the nearest lights are dim and distant. Outside, the rain taps a steady rhythm against the side windows, a soft, unrelenting pulse that threads through every quiet space in the house. The scent of damp wood stirs memories like faded photographs tucked in between pages, faint but certain. Your skin prickles with the coolness slipping through the slightly cracked window, a whispering touch that moves like the rain itself. You stand near the back door, sturdy oak, old, but well cared for. Your fingers trace the rough grain, feeling the chill and moisture clinging to it. You check the locks again, the latch solid, deadbolt turned tight. Your breath comes slow but steady, eyes catching the shimmer of raindrops pooled along the worn threshold. The porch light is low, casting long shadows that pool unevenly on slick wood. Beyond the railing, the garden is softened by rain. Leaves bowed under weight, soil dark and heavy. A faint rustle draws your gaze, wet branches brushing the fence nearby. You imagine the mist drifting low across that distant graveyard, where stones lean and fade, cloaked in fog and silence. You step back inside, the warmth of the house folding soft around you, the gentle hum of the heater, the occasional drip of water from the gutters overhead, the quiet creak of settling floorboards. They weave with the rain's persistent tapping, a rhythm both comforting and uneasy. Your eyes wander to the window again, watching the soft blur of rain and shadow. Somewhere in the night, a whisper lingers, a sound just beyond the edge of hearing, like names breathed in hushed tones across the gardens, across the fences, carried in the cold air. You wonder how many things go unseen in a quiet house like this, how many whispers wait beneath the steady tap of rain, how long silence can hold its secrets before it no longer can. And in this waiting, what will you see if you choose to look? Before we settle in, if you're listening to this quiet hour with rain tapping soft rhythms outside your window, take a moment. Tap like if this company suits, subscribe if you want more of the same. Tell me, where and what hour holds you now? Nights like this pull you close, sharp and still. It's well past midnight. The house is thick with quiet, layered with the soft tension of rain running steady over old shingles and pooling softly on the earth beneath. You stand near the foot of the narrow hallway, the floorboards cool beneath your bare feet. The faint smell of damp wood and aged stone curls softly in the air, a companion to the low breath of the storm outside. At the far end of the corridor, a door half-hung creaks open, slow and deliberate. A sliver of pale light slips through. The forgotten room, the one you hadn't touched since arriving here. You hadn't planned to go there, but that hesitant glow pulls you forward. Each step is careful, a quiet tread, guided by the rhythm of steady rain against the windows. The door's edge is cool, rough, with peeling paint that flakes faintly beneath your fingertips. You push it wider, and the pale light spills out more freely, pooling across worn floorboards and dust-thick air. The scent changes subtly. Underneath the wet wood is a faint note of old paper, forgotten memories folded tight inside faded books, and yellowed photographs scattered on a cracked desk. The room hums with stillness. Rain patters against a lone skylight, drumming a steady tattoo framed by shadowed beams overhead. A slow drip slips somewhere in the corner, steady and sure, adding its soft echo to the quiet. You listen, the silence framed like glass around you, broken only by the rhythm of the storm and a faint, almost imperceptible whisper of movement deep in the dark edges of the room. Furniture stands silent, a cracked chair bowed beneath time, a desk with scattered papers, and a single, unlit lamp. The light you saw glows faintly, a pale warmth wreathing the corner where a small candle melts slowly, wick curled as if breathing. The flame flickers gently, dancing with shadows that seem to lean closer but somehow never cross fully into the room. You pause, skin prickling with that delicate trace of unease and wonder. The rain murmurs through the eaves, steady and patient, layered over the ghost-soft sighs of the house settling. Your heartbeat slows, tapping in time with the storm. You wonder, how many forgotten places hold their own secrets? How long can a light burn where no one's meant to see? And when the quiet becomes presence, will you be ready to listen to what it whispers back? Before we begin, take a breath and lean in. If the rain is tapping gently where you are, maybe tap like or subscribe if this quiet moment feels like company. Tell me, where are you right now? What time watches over you in the dark? There's something about rain late at night. The way it draws the world closer makes every small sound sharp and alive. It's a little past midnight. You're standing outside a roadside diner, the kind of place that looks inviting in the harsh glow of neon. But now, the sign flickers fitfully, half dead, casting splashes of red and blue across wet pavement. The parking lot is almost empty, puddles pooling in low spots, reflecting scattered light like tiny pools of forgotten stars. The air is thick, with the scent of fresh rain, oil from wet asphalt, and the faint ghost of bacon grease still clinging inside. The door you just locked clicks behind you, the sound swallowed quickly by the steady drum of raindrops on metal awnings and the gentle hiss from the gutters. You pull your jacket tighter, fingers brushing damp fabric as a cool breeze slips through the edges of your collar, sliding down your neck with a subtle shiver. The rain comes steady now, a constant swirl, dripping from the edge of the tin roof and pattering softly onto the hood of your car. You glance at your phone, 12:07 a.m. The screen casts a pale glow on your palm, a small island of warmth in the damp night. No messages, no signal beyond this lonely stretch of highway and the softly breathing town far behind. The diner itself sits silent, lights dimmed, empty stools lined up by the counter where once voices and the clatter of dishes filled the air. A sudden sound draws your attention. Faint footsteps on wet concrete from the alley beside the building. They are slow, measured, cautious. You still yourself, listening closely as the rain taps between the slips of sound, sharpening your senses. The steps pause near the corner, leaving a small moment of silence that stretches too long, thick with expectation. You glance sideways toward the alley's dark mouth. Shadows cling heavy beneath the flickering streetlight, the stained brick walls slick with rain sheen. No figure moves, but the air feels charged, electric with waiting. The steady patter continues, a backdrop as real as breath itself, enclosing you in the moment, suspended just before something shifts. Your fingers tighten subtly on the car's door handle. You check the locks quietly. A click here, a secured button there. The mind flickers between calm and alertness, heart steady beneath the wet chill. Somewhere beyond the alley, the world presses close with quiet secrets, and you wonder how many unseen steps tread alongside rain, how long silence can hold its breath before it exhales something new. You step back toward the warmth of the car's interior, the leather cool beneath your palms. Outside, the night folds itself around the empty diner, drawing shade deeper, rain steady, relentless. The glow from your phone's screen is the only light breaking through, casting long, soft shadows on the pavement. How long can a place feel both empty and waiting? And when silence leans close enough for you to almost hear it breathe, what will you do then? If you're listening this late, maybe wrapped in the steady rhythm of rain tapping your window, settle in close. Tap like if this quiet holds your attention. Subscribe if you want to return. Tell me where you are and what hour presses around you now. There's a strange comfort and tension to these hours when the night feels wide and close at once. You're driving down a long, empty stretch of rural road. The windshield wipers push rain aside in a slow, steady sweep. Their rhythmic slap a metronome in the quiet cabin of the car. The scent of wet asphalt and pine fills the cool air seeping through a cracked window. The world outside is blurred, water layering the glass in streaks running with the current of the night. Your fingers grip the wheel lightly as the headlights cut through fog settling low over fields and telephone poles. The radio is off, leaving space for every sound to fill the silence that holds you. Then, something shifts in the rearview mirror. A flash of movement, a pair of eyes reflecting faintly from the dust and rain. You blink, and the shape retreats to dark, swallowed by the fog. Eyes. You catch them again, luminous and still, tracking behind you with slow patience, watching, waiting. You tap the brakes lightly, heart steady, the car sliding with soaked tires along the slick pavement. Each breath draws in the cold night, steady but tinged with that tightening edge in your chest. You check the timestamp on your phone, 12:58 a.m., and flick on the interior light briefly to steady your nerves. The eyes don't disappear, but hold their distance, a silent presence folded into the rear view's glass. You glance over your shoulder, empty road, empty trees under dripping branches. But those eyes, they linger, impossible to ignore. You glance ahead, gripping the wheel tighter, the car's engine humming low beneath you. The rain intensifies, a soft rushing, filled with distant thunder slowly rolling across the hills. The headlights reflect blankly on slick patches ahead, and all around you faint sounds carry. The whisper of wind through reeds by a ditch, the drip of water off leaves, the subtle crunch of tires on gravel suddenly sounds sharper. You push forward, the eerie feeling twisting tighter in your gut, security folding back beneath the vast, dark night. The road winds on, empty and open, but the eyes in the mirror remain, watching from just beyond. How long can presence go unseen, waiting patiently in that shadowed space behind you? When does watching turn into being watched? And how long before you turn and the night answers? Before we get into this, if you're listening in, maybe on a quiet night like this, go ahead and tap like or subscribe. Let me know where and when you're tuning in. Maybe the rain's falling outside your window too, or maybe it's just the stillness settling around you. It's just after 2 a.m. The rain has eased into a steady drizzle, tapping a soft, rhythmic pattern against the side window near the stairs. You lean forward, the faint smell of damp wood and cold air curling around you as you notice how every drop seems to echo in the quiet house. The skin on your forearm prickles slightly from the cool air brushing in through a crack near the door. Even inside, the house feels thick with night. You've been here alone for hours now, in this small rental deep enough into the countryside that the distant sounds of cars and neighbors have thinned to nothing. The perfect place to escape, or so you thought. But lately, a feeling's been growing. A strange kind of attention at the back, near the stairs that lead down into the basement. A place you don't really go to often, mostly used for storage or old boxes you meant to sort through but never did. You stand quietly, letting your feet meet the cold wooden floor. The house creaks softly behind you. The front porch light hums faintly from outside. The rain taps against the glass, steady but gentle, weaving a soft track of sound you can follow like a thread leading deeper into the night. You move toward the narrow stairwell, the air growing cooler with every step. Near the bottom, where shadows pool heavy, you hear a sound, soft, like a scrape or quiet shuffle against the concrete floor below. You stop, listen. The world holds its breath with you. The rain pauses in your ears. Another scrape echoes, hesitant, just on the edge of where the light dies. You flick on your flashlight. The beam cuts through the damp air and lands on the peeling paint of the wall. Empty, only a few cardboard boxes tucked tight in the corner, the faint smell of mildew and dust rising from them. The sound doesn't come again. You shine the light toward the small window near the floor. Raindrops still tap steadily on the glass outside, diffuse and calm. Then the breeze stirs, nudging the light curtains. Silent, like a whisper. You climb the stairs slowly, heart steadying but still alert. The warmth of the upper floor returns to you, mixing with the soft hum of the heater. You glance back once, toward the door to the basement, where shadows seem a little thicker, a whisper more present. The locks on that door feel heavier tonight than usual, the deadbolt cold under your fingers. You sit back down, the wet leather of your chair pulling quiet against you, and stare out the side window again. The rain has softened, almost fading into a distant drizzle. Outside, fog rolls low across the empty field beyond, folding in the dark earth like a slow breath. Somewhere in the distance, faint voices or whistles might be carried by the mist, too far to catch clearly, but just near enough to make you wonder. Is it possible to truly be alone in a place that's meant to be safe? Or do the walls remember something, even when we don't? The house listens, and so do you. How long can silence remain just silence before it becomes something else entirely? The rain taps steadily against the side window just past midnight. The scent of damp asphalt and wet leaves drifts inside the small-town school, mixing with the faint aroma of polished wood and old varnish that lingers in quiet halls. You step cautiously across the tiled floor, the echo of your footsteps swallowed quickly by the soft rhythm of the storm outside. You're alone here now, hours after last light, standing before the locked auditorium door, a heavy slab of faded oak with scratched paint softened by years of use. Your fingers brush the cold brass handle, feeling the bite of dampness calmed by layers of wax, then curl into a fist as you press your palm flat against the door's surface. Behind this door the seats wait, velvet-covered and dust-shadowed, and the stage looms in silent darkness, as empty and still as a breath held in the silence. You check your phone, a glow of 12:15 a.m. The screen lights your face in the dim corridor, sharp against the deeper shadows. No messages, no notifications, just the white glow pooled in your hand. You pocket it, and the moment sharpens, a flicker of movement near the window. The curtain stirs, though the night feels still, the cold air heavy with quiet. Your breath forms small clouds in the chill as you turn toward the hall's length, eyes adjusting to the low yellow glow of emergency lights. The rain's steady pattern pulses like a heartbeat against the frame, a backdrop to the subtle creaking of the building settling into its own weight. You notice now tiny droplets clinging to the window's edge, trembling there like hesitant tears. Outside, the dark world seems blurred in endless gray, softened beneath fog that rolls low over neighboring graves in the old cemetery down the street. A place where whispers might gather, and memories are folded soft beneath wet earth. Another creak, lighter this time, echoes from the far end of the hall, pulling your attention like a thread taut and trembling. You step forward slowly, each footfall careful and controlled. As you near the auditorium doors again, the rain's rhythm deepens, a sudden swell of sound pressing close, coaxing the silence to widen. Your hand lingers a moment longer on the cold brass before you let it fall away. You realize the door isn't just a barrier between space, but between presence and absence, between what is said and what stays waiting. You think about the countless nights this place has held secrets behind those walls, voices once filled with laughter and song, now stilled into shadows. How long will they remain, those echoes, waiting in the dark, watching from the empty seats? And when will someone finally listen? If you're listening this late, perhaps with rain tracing quiet fingers down your window, take a moment. Tap like or subscribe if this kind of night calls you close. Where are you? And what hour presses softly against your skin? The world feels different in these hours. Small sounds loom larger, shadows breathe closer. It's past midnight. You're back in the old school auditorium, the kind of place that carries the scent of polished wood, worn seats, and dust stirred by forgotten footsteps. Outside, rain falls steady, tapping a gentle rhythm against the windows. The halls are silent except for the echo of your own breath, steady and low. You cross the tiled floor slowly, your sneakered steps muffled beneath the thick carpet that once held hundreds of feet. The rows of seats stretch out before you, pale shapes swallowed by the dimness of emergency lights. Your eyes adjust to the muted glow, tracing the curve of the space. Stage curtains closed, heavy-end by time. Then you hear it. A faint murmur drifting from the back row, so soft you think it might be the rain's own sigh. You pause, heart steady but alert, straining to catch meaning. The sound weaves between the rain's pattering, an almost inaudible string of whispered words, too vague to grasp fully, but close enough to make you turn slowly. Your steps slow, careful as you move toward the farthest seats. The damp air clings cool to your skin, and the scent shifts subtly, undertones of aged paper and faint mildew rising from fabric worn thin. The whispers move in waves, tossing and folding over each other, teasing at the edge of hearing like voices caught in an unfinished conversation. You stop, fingers brushing the backrest of a chair, eyes scanning empty rows, searching for shadow or shape, anything that might explain the voice. But the seats hold only stillness, and the murmurs dissolve into the rhythm of rain outside. You glance at your phone, 12:44 a.m., the cool light catching the glistening rain outside the tall windows. The silence returns, deep and hollow, settling weighty around you. You think about the stories held here, echoes stored among these empty seats, the energy of unseen gatherings past and present, waiting quietly beneath layers of dust and shadow. You breathe in slowly, grounded by the rain's steady pulse, wondering how much time an empty place can hold before it becomes something more. How many whispers in the dark go unheard, and how long before silence itself begins to speak? Before we begin, take a moment to settle in, feeling the quiet weight of the night pressing gently around you. If the rain is tracing soft, steady fingers down your window, maybe tap like or subscribe if these sounds pull you close. I wonder, where are you now? What hour holds you still as the world wraps itself in dark? It's just past midnight, and rain taps in a slow, soothing rhythm against the window pane beside you. The house breathes with the storm, the soft sighs of wood settling, the distant whisper of leaves brushing against one another under a cold breeze. The smell of wet earth drifts in faintly, mingling with the sharp scent of cold wood warmed slightly by the heater. You run a hand along the glass, feeling the chill seep through, cold and smooth against your skin. Outside, the garden disappears into shadows blurred by rain. Dark soil glistens where puddles gather, and bent branches drip steadily, each drop falling with a quiet plop. The rhythmic tapping blends with the steady pulse of nature, a liquid heartbeat filling the night. Somewhere among the shapes hidden under the glistening leaves, you imagine whispers, the subtle murmur of presence just beyond sight. You step away from the window and feel the floorboards creak softly beneath your weight. Each sound seems louder in this hush, sharper against the rain's unending patter. You move slowly toward the back door. Your fingers find the cold metal of the lock, turning it once, twice. The solid click quiets the tension curling in your chest. You press your ear to the door, catching the muffled shuffle of wet gravel just beyond the porch. A sudden gust sends a shudder through the trees, a soft rustling that climbs higher, brushing repeatedly against the side of the house. The curtains flutter at the window again, though the air inside is still. You watch as the fabric moves, a slow, hesitant dance, as if coaxed by a breath not your own. You reach for your phone, checking the screen. 12:08 a.m., the glow steady and familiar in your hand. No messages, no calls, just the quiet company of night and rain. You glance once more toward the garden, toward the dark where shapes fold into one another beneath drips of water and low clouds of mist. You wonder how much silence can hold, how many secrets it carries wrapped in the steady rhythms of storm and shadow. How long can you listen before the quiet stops being quiet and starts to speak? If you're listening now, maybe the rain is thinning out or falling steady against your window, soft but persistent. Take a breath and settle in. Tap like if this quiet moment suits you. Subscribe if you want to come back to this place again. Where are you, and what hour pulls close tonight, wrapping the world in stillness? It's late, well past midnight, and you're in a small house layered deep in the rain's rhythm. The windows hold slick trails of water, blurring the yard into a haze of dripping leaves and dark earth. The air is cool, thick with the scent of wet wood and stone, faint moss and faded bark. You close your eyes and feel the cold settle under your collar, a slow creep of chill against your skin, then a soft sound, almost too light to catch at first. Something steps on the roof, a footfall, careful, tentative, slow. You don't move at first, just listen. The rain's tap is steady beneath the foot's softer patter, like a whisper pressed inside the larger storm. Another step follows, shifting across the damp shingles, careful not to break the rhythm. You step closer to the window, breath fogging the glass just a little as your eye seeks the shadowed outline of the roof against the dark sky. Through the rain-streaked glass, shapes blur, trees bowed beneath the weight of water, garden fences slick with dripping vines. The steps pause for a moment, then move again, measured and faint, touching hidden places just beyond your view. Your heart beats steady, alive not with fear, but sharp attention. You reach down for your phone. The screens glow gentle against the windowsill as you check the time, 12:37 a.m. The rain's murmur fills the silence again, steady and unwavering, like a slow pulse beneath the night's breath. You run your fingers along the wood frame of the window, cool and damp, grounding yourself against the quiet tension. The house creaks softly, old bones shifting, settling in the wet dark. You follow the faint sound of shifting weight once more, small and light. A gust makes the branches scrape and whisper outside, a soft chorus carried through the damp air. Somewhere, far off, the fog curls low over distant graves, hiding stones and secrets beneath its cold, thick veil. You step back inside, the warmth pulling gently, the soft hum of the heater comfortable against the steady tapping on the glass. The footsteps have faded, slipping away into the rain and night, as if they were never quite there. How often does the night hold its secrets just beyond our sight? How long can we listen in the silence before it asks us to answer back? It's past midnight, and rain taps steadily against the cracked glass of the bus terminal window. You press your palm to the cold surface, the chill spreading through your fingers and slipping under your skin. Outside, the streetlight struggles through the mist, casting pale halos that blur into the wet night. The smell of damp concrete and wet earth drifts faintly inside, mixing with the faint scent of grease and old coffee simmering from the closed cafe behind you. The terminal is nearly empty, benches lined up like silent sentinels beneath flickering fluorescent lights, their hum a low, constant drone beneath the patter of rain. You sit near the back, boots resting heavily on the slick floor, your breath mists in the air, steady and slow like the rhythm of the storm outside. The time ticks quietly on your phone screen. 12:26 a.m. No messages, no calls, just silence and rain, a waiting held between moments. Something shifts in the dim corner near the windows, a shadow folding into itself just beyond the reach of the light. Your gaze flicks over, heart grounding against sudden tension. Was that a movement, or just the murmur of branches bending in the wet breeze? The wet night wraps thick around the empty lot outside, puddles winking faint reflections of distant headlights that never come closer. You rise, fingertips brushing the cold metal of a bench as you edge toward the door at the far side. The sound of your shoes is muted, the echo swallowed beneath the rain's continuous tap. The door's latch clicks under your hand, the cold metal solid and certain. You glance out briefly, but only see mist curling low, draping the empty road with ghostly softness. Back inside, the quiet deepens. A faint, soft footstep echoes somewhere behind the ticket booth, too light and brief to be sure. Your ears strain, catching the faintest whisper of something, like a name, breathed in the dark. You spin slowly, eyes piercing the wet shadows, but again you are met only by the buzz of the lights and the distant drip of water from gutter spouts. The rain slides down the glass in irregular streams, catching fleeting light and reshaping the world beyond in silver slivers. You lean your forehead against the cool window, heart steady but mind alert. Somewhere nearby, just beyond the veil of wet night and fog, shapes shift quietly, waiting, watching, only half seen. You think about the invisible footsteps that trace the rain-soaked streets at this hour. How many remain unseen but felt? How many whisper names that vanish before we hear? And as the night stretches on, how long will you stay waiting, wondering what waits back? If you're here, late in the night with rain pressing softly against your window, settle in and breathe with me. It's just past midnight, and the world feels uneasy in its stillness. The air smells of damp leather and fresh rain, cool and sharp as it slips through the crack beneath your car door. You slide into the driver's seat after a long day, but something catches your eye, a faint glimmer on the passenger seat beside you. Your fingers brush the fabric, smooth but oddly cold, as if the seat is already half claimed. You glance sideways, half expecting something to be there, but the seat holds only shadows and silence, the dark shapes pressed into the dim glow of the dashboard light. For a moment, the slow drip of rain on the roof, The rhythmic tick of the windshield wipers and the faint hum of the engine all fade beneath a sudden, wakeful quiet. You're driving now, the road slick with rain, headlights cutting a fading path through the thick, misted night. The cabins and trees running past blur into long fingers of shadow. Somewhere behind, lights flicker briefly. A car? No, nothing but the steady cadence of your own tires on wet asphalt and the lingering sense that you're not alone in this small space. Ahead, the road curves softly, glowing faintly under the pale watch of street lamps. Your breath catches as the sense of presence grows more insistent. Not a figure, not a shape, but a feeling pressed close beside you. You glance again. Nothing moves. The empty seat holds its quiet vigil as if waiting, watching. You reach out, hands slow and steady, brushing the door latch, grounding yourself in the normal. The scent of rain and musk rises in the cabin, a contrast to the sterile dashboard light. The closed windows humming tight against the storm. Yet the quiet gnaws at your awareness, wrapping around your spine and fingertips. The phone rests silent on the passenger floor, its bright screen showing 12:17 a.m. You think briefly of calling someone, any comfort to break the thick silence, but the signal shrinks away like a fading echo. You sit back, eyes forward, heartbeat steady but held taut. The steady tick of the engine, the soft slap of rain, and that quiet space beside you, the silent passenger seat. What waits unseen in the spaces we leave unfilled? How long can presence remain invisible before it becomes impossible to ignore? And when the quiet insists on its own shape, what do we do with what watches beside us? If you're listening now, maybe the rain is falling gently against your window. Soft fingers drumming a quiet rhythm that pulls the world close and makes everything feel sharper, smaller. Take a moment. Breathe that damp air in deep. Feel it slip around your skin. If you like this kind of quiet company, tap like or subscribe. Tell me, where are you? And what hour holds you now? It's just past midnight. The rain is steady. A soft murmur pressing against every surface outside, making the leaves glisten, the paths slick with forgotten footsteps. You stand near the back porch of a quiet house, the glow of a single porch light flickering weakly through the downpour. The scent of wet cedar and cold stone fills the air, sharp and clean. Under your feet, the wood of the porch is slick, and all around, the quiet breath of a night soaked in rain folds softly into the dark. You notice the low, distant rumble of thunder far off, rolling slow and deep, like a reminder in the sky. Above, clouds churn heavy and gray, the storm breathing in and out with steady patience. Then you hear it. Soft footsteps, careful and slow, padding wet against the earth beyond the edge of the porch. They come single, measured, yet there's no shape where you'd expect one. A ghostly presence just out of reach, a shadow moving with the rain song. You steady your breath, heart beating slow and sharp. Your fingers find the cold metal of the back door's lock, and you twist it twice, listen for clicks. Solid. You step closer to the window beside the door, fingers tightening against the damp frame. Through the rain-distorted glass, the garden is nothing but dark shapes and shifting shadows. Trees stooped with water, and the outline of the old fence giving way to the night beyond. The footsteps have stopped. The silence that follows is thick, almost a presence itself. The rain's rhythm intensifies, a soft drum against the eaves. Somewhere in the distance, a bird cries out, a brief, piercing note broken by the steady pulse of water falling and sliding over leaves. You press your ear to the wood, feeling the slow pulse of the house, the breath it holds in the rain. You think of the forgotten graves tucked just beyond the fence, shrouded in mist and shadow, silent watchers beneath their veils of fog. How many secrets linger in places like this, folded into whispered moments, soft as the footsteps you cannot see. You step back inside, the warm glow wrapping around you as the door closes. The rain keeps falling, relentless and patient. How long do presence and silence stand side by side before one becomes the other? And when the night remembers, who will it call next? If you're listening this late, maybe alone, maybe wrapped in the soft patter of rain tracing trails down your window, take a breath. This quiet night pulls us close. Tap like if you want. Subscribe to linger in this stillness a little longer. Tell me, where are you? What hour holds you in its slow fold? There's a particular weight to rain-slicked nights, a subtle pulse beneath the dark. You step outside, drawn by the cool breath of air, heavy with damp earth and wet wood, the scent sharp and alive beneath the steady whisper of rain. The night cloaks the garden in a deep blue shadow, each leaf and blade glistening, dripping with tired droplets settling into the soft soil. Your shoes press into the sodden ground as you pace slowly toward the back fence. The wooden gate is there, familiar and worn, paint peeling thin, hinges sighing as you reach out. Only this time, it's ajar. The latch hangs loose in your hand. Cold metal slick beneath your fingers. You hold your breath. The rain's gentle rhythm continues, tapping and coaxing, but the silence thickens between each drop, thick as velvet folding around your senses. There's no sign of disturbance beyond the gate, no footprints leading away, no bent or broken branches, but something feels shifted, as if the quiet itself has stretched a little too far. You peek past the opening, the garden beyond smeared in mist and rain, shadows pooling low beneath trees heavy with moisture. The distant outline of gravestones flickers faint through the fog. Not far from here, a reminder of things unseen, waiting in cold earth beneath fallen leaves. Your hand lingers on the gate, warm from the inside, cold this side. You listen. The night breathes slow, each raindrop a subtle pulse against the wooden boards. Somewhere lost in the dark, the faint rustle of leaves, a slight movement too soft to place, fades quickly. The gate swings gently, caught in the rain's soft breath, then stills once more. You think of all the moments when locks click shut, when things left open mean something unseen can slip silently in. How many footsteps fall just outside our watch? How many whispers press close in the deep folds of rain and shadows, waiting unnoticed? You let the gate close slowly, the click barely louder than your pulse in the quiet. Inside, the door's lock feels firm beneath your fingers, the warmth pressing back against the night's cool touch. You step back, eyes tracing the wet garden's shape, fading once again into the dark. How many times do we miss the smallest gap, the faintest soft sound? And how long before the night's silence fills up with things we can no longer ignore? It's late, the kind of late where the world softens under the weight of silence and rain. You step outside, the cold air folding around you like a wet blanket, carrying the sharp scent of earth soaked deep. Each breath feels different here, heavy with moisture and the faint decay of leaves pressed into soil. The sky is low and heavy, thick with clouds that swallow what little moonlight tries to seep through. You walk slowly toward the graveyard, just beyond the fence, footsteps muffled by the wet grass and mud. The path is slick beneath your feet, a narrow trail winding between moss-covered stones and crumbling markers, their inscriptions softened by time and weather. The rain patters gently on your jacket, and drops fall steadily from the dripping branches overhead. A fog rolls in, slow and heavy, creeping upward from the earth like breath exhaled by the land itself. It swallows the graves one by one, folding white and thick over stone and grass. Shapes warble at the edges of sight, barely there, almost part of the mist. You pause and listen. The rain continues, a soft rhythm that fills the empty spaces, yet beneath it you think you hear something else. The faintest whisper, a voice almost caught in the wind, a rustle beyond the hush of night. You crouch near an old stone, the surface slick with moisture, and brush away wet leaves. Your fingers catch the letters beneath, half-erased names, fading histories, lives folded gently into this quiet earth. The fog curls closer, a living thing pressing in with soft fingers that reach just beyond reach. A distant crack of thunder rumbles low, a slow warning stretched across the sky. You stand, heart steady but alert, breathing in the thick air that tastes of rain and secrets. The cold presses deeper now, and the silhouettes of slender trees sway in silent rhythm with the storm's breath. You glance back toward the house, warm lights glowing faintly through wet windows, a small sanctuary holding steady against the cold dark. The garden tracks trail muddy beyond the porch, but here the graveyard holds its quiet vigil, timeless and still, watched only by fog and rain. You wonder how many stories settle beneath the soil, whispered in shadow, and waiting for ears patient enough to hear. How long do these silent places keep their secrets before the night lets them go? And when the fog finally lifts, what will you find waiting in the absence it leaves behind? The air is heavy with rain and moss, cold beneath your fingertips as you brush the slick surface of the tombstone. Mist curls low around your ankles, swirling softly, like breath exhaled from the earth itself. It's late, past midnight, and the steady rhythm of rain drums softly on the wet leaves and dark soil all around. Each drop draws patterns on the stone, tiny streams that look like veins, pulsing slow and silent. You stand alone here, surrounded by shadowed monuments, leaning with quiet patience under the weight of years. The fog blurs the edges of the graves, blending stone and earth and creeping vines into a single, breathing presence. The smell of damp wood and rich soil fills your nostrils, mingling with the cool bite of night air against your skin. A shiver travels up your spine, fine and sharp. A whisper trails through the mist, not a voice, not quite, but soft as breath, words caught just beyond understanding. You turn slowly, heart steady but catching, trying to place the sound among the susurro of leaves and the pulse of rain. It seems to come from just beyond the grave where you stand, curling close to that dark earth, like a secret reluctant to be told. Your eyes scan the shifting shapes, old oaks swaying, the low curve of forgotten headstones, and you catch the briefest flicker of shadow, a deepening fold in the fog, nearly lost to the night's quiet. Your breath hangs visible and slow, each inhale a reminder that you are here, and yet that space before you holds something else, some presence fragile and watchful, half seen between the falling drops. Your fingers brush the cold stone again. You feel the rough texture beneath your palm, the weight of time pressed into the marble and granite. Somewhere far away, beneath this vast and watching sky, headlights slide along an empty road. You step back slowly, the soaked earth soft underfoot, and listen again. The rain presses gentle and relentless, filling the dark with its steady pulse. The whisper rises and fades with the wind, carrying a word, your name or not, an echo that brushes past thought, just out of reach. You pull your coat closer, the chill threading through your bones. You think about all the quiet places where voices might linger, how many secrets the night holds beneath its stillness. How long can silence carry the weight of something trying to be heard? And when the whisper finally breaks free, will you be ready to listen? Before we begin, if you're here in the quiet of night, maybe with the rain tapping somewhere close, Go ahead and tap like, subscribe if you haven't already. I'm curious, where and when are you listening to this? Maybe this moment, right now, folds gently around you with the soft weight of the dark. It's just past 3 a.m., and rain is lightly drumming against the porch roof. A steady, whispering rhythm that seems both far and near. The smell of wet earth mingles faintly with the scent of old cedar from the porch beams. You can feel a cool breeze slip under the slightly cracked kitchen window, brushing your skin with a damp chill that settles like a thin layer over your shoulders. Shadows stretch long across the wooden floor, flickering faintly from the uneven glow of the porch light outside. That light is what you notice first, a subtle flicker like a breath of movement, cutting the darkness unevenly. It isn't steady tonight. On, off, off, on. You rise slowly, the soft creak of your slippers against the floor pulling you slightly toward the door. You check the time on your phone, 3:07 a.m. The screen glows dimly, but the house feels awake, watching. You walk to the back door, hand outstretched, feeling the cool brass of the doorknob beneath your fingers. Your palm senses the faint dampness that the rain's breath carries inside, even through the sealed cracks. You glance through the peephole, the narrow slice of porch sliced by the flickering light. The wet concrete glistens unevenly. There, just out of reach of the porch glow, you think you catch a shadow sliding along the side of the house. The pulse of the porch light dims, then blinks back on. You hear no footsteps, no rustling of leaves. Only rain, steady and insistent. You reach for the lock, turning it twice, the click solid and reassuring. The deadbolt follows. Then you lean closer to the door again, pressing your forehead near the peephole, eyes narrowing on that faint shape. It slips behind the corner. You step back, blinking and listening. The soft patter of damp air fills the space, the rain's rhythm now a quiet soundtrack as you check the other windows. The neighboring houses are dark, distant and silent, saw faint halos from street lamps cutting through mist far down the road. No other cars, no passing voices, only the occasional rumble of thunder, rolling slowly like a warning from miles away. You pick up your phone again, fingers hovering over the emergency call screen but deciding against it. You remind yourself this place is safe, locked tight, and yet the silence feels thick, as if the night itself is holding something just out of sight, waiting for a moment to slip closer. You settle back into your chair, the fabric cool beneath you, and glance once more toward the flickering porch light. The pattern continues, on, off, on. A pulse, a breath. You wonder how many small moments in the night go unnoticed. How many small shadows hold stories beyond their shape. How long will you watch? How long can the night carry its quiet watchfulness before the balance tips and the unseen becomes something you must face? Before we settle into this, if you're listening now, maybe alone or with the rain whispering outside, take a moment, like, subscribe if you want, and tell me where you are, what time it is as you hear this. It's past midnight now, the kind of hour when every little noise feels like it counts. You sit near the back door, the kind that creaks a bit when closed too tightly and lets in the faintest hint of cold air from outside. The smell of wet wood and damp leaves carries in through the cracks around the frame. The rain taps lightly against the window beside you, rhythm steady but soft, like cautious fingers drumming a slow rhythm. Each drop slipping down the glass blurs the world beyond. Then, above the patter, a knock. Sharp, deliberate. You freeze, senses sharpening. The sound comes again, 3 slow, measured raps, almost polite, but there's something in their timing that sends a spark down your spine. You glance toward the door, your breath stilling. Outside, the porch light casts a pale glow, flickering slightly. You remind yourself to check the time. 1:49 a.m., the glow from your phone screen cutting blue through the dim. You rise carefully, feet touching the cool floor, moving close enough to hear better. The rain falls steady but soft now, not masking that knock, not quite. You press your ear against the door, no other sound except the steady rainfall, and then silence. It's the kind of silence that feels full, almost too full, like the air is holding itself just beneath the skin. You reach for the peephole, leaning closer until your nose almost touches the cold wood. The world outside is blurred by raindrops drifting down the glass. The beam from the porch light a pale circle on slick concrete, but no shape moves within it, nothing but dripping leaves and pools of water. You try to steady your pulse, remind yourself about how often the night plays tricks. You check the locks. Bolt secure, latch firm. The deadbolt turns with a satisfying click. You double lock the door. Still, that knock echoes faintly in your mind. Then the soft creak of the porch swaying slowly in the wet breeze. No wind strong enough to move it, just enough to coax it forward and back. You glance back outside as the raindrops continue their slow slide down the windows, and you wonder about sound, how it moves and stills, how a moment of noise can vanish and leave behind a silence so full it almost feels like a presence. The porch light flickers again, a faint pulse in the misty night. How long can silence stretch before it pulls your attention or asks you to listen closer? And when the quiet holds its breath, what is it waiting for, just beyond the door? Before settling in for this chapter, take a breath and lean into the quiet. If you're listening late, maybe with the rain tapping your window, like or subscribe if you want, and wonder, where and when are you right now? There's something about rain at night, isn't there? It pulls everything close and a little bit strange. It's just after midnight. The rain outside is steady but soft, settling onto the porch, tapping against the side window with a gentle insistence. The air smells fresh and cool. Damp earth, wet wood, something green and growing from the potted ferns near the door. You feel the chill resting against your skin as you move toward the front entrance, the warmth inside contrasting with the coolness that slips through the thin cracks around the doorframe. You notice the welcome mat beneath your feet. It's damp, soaked a little from the earlier drizzle, and something nearly undetectable catches your eye. A muddy shoe print, pressed unevenly into the mat's coarse fibers. Your pulse quickens just a fraction. The print is fresh, the soil dark and spread as if someone had just stepped there moments ago. You hadn't heard footsteps, not outside or inside. The house is quiet except for the rain, tapping like a secret code. You crouch down, tracing the outline with your eyes. No way to tell how many steps led here. The mat doesn't show a trail forward or back, as if those shoes stopped just there, then vanished. You rise carefully, the floorboards creaking softly beneath your weight, and glance out the side window toward the yard. The garden is washed in shadows and rain, the plants swaying gently as water drips from their leaves in slow pulses. The faint hum of the fridge adds a background note, mixing with the steady rhythm of rainfall that slips through the cracks in the evening. Your gaze shifts to the back door, where you last double-locked the deadbolt. No lights beyond the porch glow. The neighbors' houses rest far apart, silent in the dark. No cars or voices to break the night's stillness. You pick up your phone, the screen lighting your face as you check the time. 12:13 a.m. You step toward the back door and pause, listening intently. There's a faint creak, soft, deliberate, coming from the back porch swing swaying in the moist breeze. The smell of wet wood is stronger here, sharper against your skin. With deliberate calm, you check the locks again. The latch is secure, the deadbolt fully engaged. You peer through the peephole. The yard beyond pools with shadows and scattered light from the street lamp far off the road. Nothing moves, but the air feels thicker, almost waiting. You step back inside as the rain picks up again, tapping its steady pattern against the window. The house feels both safe and small, framed against a world outside that seems to watch, just beyond reach. You think about the footprints left on a welcome mat, the silent sign of presence that didn't announce itself aloud, and wonder, how often do we miss the subtle things? How long can a moment hold a secret before it slips away again into silence? Before we begin, if you're listening in the quiet of night, maybe with rain falling close by, take a moment, tap like or subscribe if you want, and think, where are you? And what hour is keeping you company? The night has a way of folding around those details, bringing them close. It's just past 1:30 a.m. The rain taps steady against the side window near the attic stairs. The sound is soft but persistent, like gentle fingers tracing the glass. You catch the faint scent of damp wood and old plaster drifting down from above, mixing with the cool breath of the night slipping through tiny cracks in the frame. The chill runs lightly over your skin, and the house feels still, as if holding its breath. You rise from the living room chair, the leather cool beneath you, and cross the room. Each step soft on the worn floorboards, echoing faintly in the night. The kitchen clock ticks quietly, its second hand steady, marking time with gentle, mechanical precision. You glance at your phone. The glow confirms 1:32 a.m. Without turning on the main lights, you pull the flashlight from the counter and click it on, the beams slicing through the darkness in a narrow path toward the narrow stairwell that leads up into the attic. The stairs creak beneath your careful weight. The air grows cooler and heavier as you ascend. You pause on the landing below the attic door, noticing how the rain's rhythm shifts into a pattern on the roof. Distant thunder rumbles softly, a slow growl that fuzzes the edges of the quiet. The faintest whisper of wind pushes at the eaves, drawing wet leaves against the gutters in a soft scrape. You reach out and place your hand on the attic door. The wood is firm, textured with layers of paint flickering beneath your fingertips. You check the latch, locked tight. You try the handle again just to be sure. The lock holds firm, cold and unyielding. Peering through a small window near the top of the door, you can't make out much beyond the rain-smeared glass. The yard beyond the house is lost in haze, shapes blurring into one another under the wash of shadow and rain. Trees bow beneath the weight of moisture. Beyond them, the fog sits low over a small cemetery not far from here, a place you remember passing during the drive, the gravestones like pale sentinels cloaked in mist. You step closer to the window, framing the outside world through the worn glass. There's a quiet presence in the fog, something in the way the rain blurs lines and folds dark shapes together. No footsteps, no whispers, only the gentle, relentless breath of the storm. You pull back from the glass and lean your forehead against the door, feeling the cool wood beneath your skin. The attic above is locked away, a shadowed space held just out of reach. Outside, the rain hums its relentless tune, tapping and slipping over leaves and stone. You wonder about the space beyond the door and the quiet that holds it. How much does the locked attic hide, and how much is simply waiting? How long do we wait with it, silent, together, before the night's watch asks for something more? Before we settle into this story, if you're listening deep into the night, maybe under the steady whisper of rain, consider tapping like or subscribing. And tell me, where are you right now? What hour is holding you here with me listening? It's a special kind of quiet, this time between midnight and dawn, isn't it? You find yourself pulled into a small, lonely gas station, somewhere far from city lights. The rain has been falling for hours, A slow, persistent drizzle that slicks the narrow road and pools in the uneven asphalt next to the pumps. The air smells sharp and clean, heavy with the scent of wet pavement and something faintly metallic from the old signage overhead. Your windshield wipers swipe steadily, a reassuring rhythm, but you're already out of the car, door closing behind you with a soft click. Around you, the lights of the station flicker, fluorescent bulbs buzzing faintly, some sputtering like tired fireflies against the damp night. The ground beneath your boots is slick, soft with puddles that ripple quietly as droplets fall, each a tiny splash adding to the muted chorus. You pull your jacket tighter collar against your neck. The air here feels colder, sharper, as if the night is breathing in deep. The door to the station's small shop opens with a practiced push, the bell overhead jangling briefly. Inside, the fluorescent glow is stark, throwing long shadows across the aisles packed with snacks, bottles, and dusty shelves. The faint hum of a fridge backing the counter seems louder somehow in this strange stillness. You move along the linoleum floor, the tap-tap of your steps mixing with the distant patter of rain outside. You glance at the clock above the door, 2:14 a.m. The cashier is a solitary figure, nodding slightly but otherwise quiet, lost in the flicker of a muted television behind the counter. There's no one else around. Out the window behind them, the road stretches out empty, swallowed in mist and rain, no headlights breaking the dark. You grab what you came for, something small, maybe a coffee or a pack of gum, then step back outside. The rain feels thicker now, heavier as it falls, and the night seems to press inward, more intimate. As you scan the empty lot, you catch a flicker of movement near the edge of the station, just beyond where the dim glow fades. A shadow slipping past the puddles, silent on wet concrete. You freeze, pulse steadying. No car, no person visible, just that movement and the endless whisper of rain. The fog swirls low along the roadside, folding muted shapes into each other. Your breath clouds in the cool air. The distant, faint echo of a whisper drifts, tangled with the steady drip of water from the gutters. You check your phone. 2:17 a.m. The screen light is bright, but cold in your hand. A pocket of modern warmth in the old night. You consider calling the station attendant back, describing a shadow you can't quite place. But the night feels wide and watching, patient enough for waiting without answers. You slip back into the car, the leather cold beneath you. As you watch the rain trace lines down the windshield, you wonder, how many moments like this go unnoticed, where presence slips just beyond sight, brushing silence before vanishing again? How many secrets does a long night hold? And how long can we truly remain alone in its slow shifting gaze? Before we begin, if you're here late with me, maybe the rain pooling softly outside your window, take a moment, tap like, subscribe if you want, and tell me where you are and what hour holds you now. There's something about those quiet, dark hours that pulls us close, isn't there? It's just past 2 a.m., and the rain has eased into a gentle drizzle. You sit alone in your car at the edge of a long, empty country road. The sky is thick with fog, swallowing the faint shimmer of distant stars. The cool, damp air presses in through the slightly cracked window, carrying the scent of wet leaves and earth, something old and soft, like forgotten memories resting in the dark. You notice first the dull glow ahead, two headlights struggling to cut through the mist, distant at first, then closer, steady and slow. The road is slick beneath the tires, every drop tracing silver paths along the asphalt. Your fingers rest lightly on the steering wheel, the leather smooth, a quiet anchor in the night. The car moves nearer, soundless against the soft coat of fog, lights casting long, wavering shadows along the roadside trees. You watch as the headlight beams flicker, pale and uncertain, swallowed almost instantly behind the curtain of mist again. The world beyond seems fragile, conspiratorial, a secret waiting just beyond the reach of sight. You think of the small graves you passed a few miles back, resting quietly beneath their blankets of fog. Places where whispers don't rise but hang steady in the heavy air. The sound of distant thunder rumbles low and slow, like a warning carried far on the wind. The steady rhythm of rain is a quiet backdrop now, its presence constant but gentle, weaving through the night like a soft heartbeat. Your phone glows gently beside you, 2:03 a.m. No messages, no calls. Just the quiet hum of electricity and the slow slide of minutes. You find yourself wondering about watching, about waiting. How much does the night observe? How many silent moments does it collect? And what wakes when the fog folds close? The headlights pass, and the silence deepens. The mist closes back over the road like a curtain. You breathe out slowly, the cool air filling your lungs, and wonder what footprints leave no mark. What shapes disappear before they fully appear? How long can you watch a fading light before the night asks for your own shadow in return?